Hey-o. Greetings.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Stato. Hey, Lucifer.
Hey, man. How's it swelling?
Hey.
That's, got the ointment on, so it's okay.
Ah, that's all right then. That's all right.
We're back after the sleep. This is never right. I have to go like that, because otherwise you're just staring into the abyss.
I was looking at the chat.
You're looking at the chat, yeah. Well, it says buzzing.
Well, yeah.
Right, so this is us. We're doing a show.
You excited? I know Lucifer.
Yeah, I know.
I am.
Lucifer's can't wait to get started.
This
show was just born out of just a chat me and Lucifer were having after the last show that we did. And
how much is Star Wars, huh?
I said, no, it would be a good idea to
opposite.
do. Yeah, we were going to do a tribute to Star Wars, and then we thought, would it have been nice to do like a show based on movies surrounding a year? Is it one particular year?
We wanted to bash Star Wars. I see how it is. It's a little awkward.
So yeah, I just thought, 1977 was a good 70s year.
Yeah, I remember that year.
So that's what we decided. We thought, okay, well, what we'll do is in 1977, that's a year everybody just talks about Star Wars, because a lot of people they grew up with Star Wars. That was a movie. It was a big movie of their childhood, and we kind of thought, hey, Izzy, and we thought it'd be a good idea to look at the other movies in 1977. And I was convinced there was a lot of movies in 1977 that were better than Star Wars and that needed looking at. And we'll find out tonight, because we've all kind of chosen our own top 10s. And I did say when we were doing this, we don't need to list them in order of 10 to 1. But Lucifer already, he was like, no, I'm doing that. So I've done that as well, and I've cheated a wee bit too. And it'll be interesting to see if we do include Star Wars as one of our top 10 or not.
How do you make this top 10 list of movies that are better than Star Wars and include Star Wars in there?
Quite easily.
Unless you're talking about versions, like
you write down the numbers 1 to 10, right? And then you just write down movie titles that don't have the word Star or Wars in them.
Well, I mean, if you're including Star Wars in your top 10.
Yeah, well, that was because I was thinking that we may be wrong. We may be wrong when we started watching some of these movies.
Talking versions, like I like the old version of Star Wars better than the new version of Star Wars.
Yeah, but it's movies that are better than Star Wars, but we might not get 10 each. We might not, So I've left that open for. I'm not going to say you have to find 10 movies better than Star Wars.
No. And at the end of the day, we're all Star Wars fans. I mean, look at Stato. He's dressed beautifully tonight in his cosplay. I know that Wullie's a fan of Star Wars because he's told me all about it. I'm a fan of Star Wars. I even have a Star Wars tattoo on my wrist.
Yep.
So this isn't a bash against Star Wars. It's just simply there are other movies that get overlooked because of Star Wars from the same year, and they deserve to be showcased.
Yes. Well said. And of course, Star Wars is also vastly overrated. But anyway, let's get on with our top 10. So I'm going to say, I don't. Who wants to start? Who wants to start with the top 10?
I think we should. I think we should let Stato start.
I think that's a good idea. We'll just go and we'll just go clockwise then. So
present my screen real
force
quick.
is with you, Stato.
I'm gonna get the obvious one out of the way. Slapshot.
Oh, Stato's brought graphics. Hey,
it might be one of the best hockey movies ever made. Certainly, I mean the Hansons. If you could put them in Star Wars, I think that would probably make that movie unstoppable.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
That would be that would actually. It would also have taken it well out of the audience that it was going for the family
All
audience.
three of them playing the role of Han Solo at the same time.
Well, that's a brilliant choice because it's in my top 10 as well. I've got it in at number 7 in my top 10. So yeah.
Sent the Empire after us. Yeah, how many did they send? I don't know.
Unfortunately, this one didn't make my top 10, not because of the quality of the movie, but because I just didn't get a chance to watch it before this show, and I haven't seen it before. So I'm not going to add it in my top 10 until I've seen it.
That's a treat.
I've not seen it.
That's
you
for you.
Yeah, you got to watch that.
That's the great thing about not seeing it. I still get to watch it for the first time, and the first time is always the best time.
This is one of those ones that got like 2 sequels after it that were nowhere near as good. That gutted it. It's like the Police Academy effect, where you have the first one, it's rated R, it's like really popular, and then they make a bunch of like PG and G sequels to it inexplicably to try to capitalize on that. And this is no different. This is a very raunchy, dirty, funny movie. But
and it's got Paul Newman in it, hasn't it?
Yeah, and he's terrific in it. It's kind of world weary and sort of like it's incredibly 70s. It's an incredibly 70s movie as well.
Definitely.
And I think actually my top 10 is all incredibly 70s movies. Oh dear, Izzy's Oops. Oh, we're both trying to I'll let you bring them up, Stato.
Okay.
Yeah.
It could be part of the discussion, but will it be a good part of the discussion? That's
I've always had a little bit of a soft spot for it, simply because it's John Boorman, and I thought, if a director whose work you admire makes a movie while he's in therapy, then he did a really good job. I'm just guessing he was in therapy when he made that movie.
Slapshot always used to be on late night Friday night on ITV at one point. That's where he saw it. Does that censor flicks?
ITV used to.
They used to.
Whether they do now or not, I don't know. But I remember that they censored Die Hard. And instead of saying "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker," is always "Mother Humper." They censored RoboCop.
Not really
Predator and Aliens was censored when they showed
Slapshot, along with something like Blazing Saddles, is just a movie it's just not at its best when it's censored.
I saw it from my local video emporium, and it was a wonderfully pirated copy of it that had everything intact. So you can. But even when it's censored a little bit, it's such a well-made movie.
Still funny, but it's not its best.
Yeah, but we will. So that's a great number 10. My number 10. I thought I would just get one of my pretentious ones out of the way. So at number 10, no graphic here because I thought we were talking about loads of movies. I picked that Obscure Object of Desire, which was a Louis Buñuel movie, which is a surrealist film about a middle-aged man who's obsessed with his woman, and the woman is played by 2 different actresses in different scenes, depending on the mood that she's in. They have a different actress player. So anybody that's watched For Your Eyes Only, Carol Bouquet, she's one of the actresses in that movie, and that's where she was kind of like seen and got the bod part. And it's just because I did watch it this year and I really enjoyed it again. And he was a surrealist. He made like movies way back in the day with Dali, and he never stopped making surrealist movies. And you get very, very few directors who had that kind of trajectory, making movies that were surreal and just kind of odd, but at the same time sort of like tied to real feelings and reality. So I'll put that one in there just in case anybody wants to kind of like give it a wee look. That Obscure Object of Desire, Louis Buñuel. give it a look. It's good. It is. It's good. Trust me. And it's also one of these films, I think, as you get older, it has more layers to it. I did want to put in, because I thought there must be a good film from Ingmar Bergman. I did want to put an Ingmar Bergman film in, but in 1977 he made The Serpent's Egg, which is the worst movie Ingmar Bergman has ever made. It was his only big budget English language movie with David Carradine was in it, and it's intriguing, but it's terrible. So I couldn't put that in. So I thought I'm going to put a nice art house movie in here, and so I put in That Obscure Object of Desire as my number 10.
Fantastic. Excellent. Well, I can't say that I've seen that one, but I will be keeping an eye out for it now.
Yeah, Ingmar Bergman is somebody to keep an eye out for.
Carol Bouquet is in it quite a lot.
Oh,
or there's quite a lot of Carol Bouquet in it. Let's just say that. So I picked that one. So that's my pretentious pick out of the way, because there was also a Francois Truffaut in The Man Who Loved Women, and I almost put that in my top 10 because I like that as well. And it was a good year for Francois Truffaut. So, but I didn't. Anyway, Lucifer, your number 10.
My number 10, believe it or not, it was going to be something else. And then I rewatched that particular movie and went, that is not as good as I remember it. Shit. So last night I had to pick a random movie from 1977. And I went, I'm going to pick this one. And I sat down, watched it, and it was really interesting because at the beginning I was like, I'm not sure if this will make my top 10. And then towards the end, I was like, oh, if it goes in this direction, it's definitely not in my top 10 and I'm screwed. But if it goes in this direction, that's fucking incredible. And it went in that direction. So number 10, I've got The Pajama Girl Case, which is based on a true story. And I just think it's a fantastic movie. And I'm not going to say that it's better than Star Wars, but I had to put it in there. It just, I had such a great time with it. And I was like, I'd watch this again and again. And it's, like I said, it's based on a true story. And it's about this retired cop who comes out of retirement temporarily when the local police force discover a body on the beach in a couple of burning cars. And the body is a woman, but from the neck upwards, she's been horribly burnt. From the neck down, she's still absolutely fine. She's been murdered and other horrible things have been done to her. And they don't know her identity, but they don't know who killed her as well. And they try all these different things to try and find out who she is and who the killers were and why they killed her. And at one point, they even decide that the best thing to do is to put her body on display in an art museum, thinking, well, the murderers are probably going to come along to see the artwork that they've created. And they try loads of things like that. And it's really good movie. I cannot recommend it enough. And if I say any more about the story, I'm going to spoil a big twist of it.
All right. That's going to my to-watch list, because I don't think I've seen that one.
It's a lovely little giallo.
I don't think so. It's one of these ones where I might have seen it and not realised I've seen it, because a lot of videos
that is possible. We
get loads of these turned up in video back in the rental days, and they just had the same film with lots of different titles. So but it doesn't ring a bell.
I didn't realise till afterwards that it was based on a real case that happened in Australia back in, I think it was 1934, where a body of a woman was discovered and she'd been shot through the neck, but her body was mutilated to a point where they couldn't identify her. And it's only when her husband came forward about a year later and said, well, I killed my wife, it's probably her.
Blame it. And he double blame me for Pete there.
Pete's going to be like, both pens, 2 pads, writing stuff down, both hands.
You are going to need a big pad until I get to about number 3 in my list, and then you're going to want to ignore everything I say.
Just say about the Bergman flick. Actually, I think you'll enjoy it, Pete. I mean, although I say it's Bergman's worst film, it's a fascinating movie to watch. Right, so that's us. We've picked 3 more different movies you couldn't really imagine. I don't think Stato's going to have that one on his list either, because I know I don't. Stato, what have you got in at number 9?
Number 9, A Bridge Too Far.
Oh, that didn't quite make it to mine, but yeah.
Classic war flick. And if this movie had been made in 2023, the poster would just be the list of names. It would just be a black. It would be a black thing with just a white list of names, no pictures, nothing. It would just be like that name and then a bridge too far, and that's all you would get.
Yeah.
Because wow, look at that cast.
Yeah.
It would definitely, if they made it now, it'd definitely have Chris Hemsworth in it. I have no doubt.
It'd have all the flavor of the month. But I mean, like, just it's a ridiculously good cast.
And they'd have cut and paste the one paratrooper as well if they did have an image. They would have been dead lazy about it. Yeah, I haven't seen that for a couple of years, but last time I did watch it, I was surprised how much I really enjoyed it. It's still a really good film. Yeah,
it's a classic war flick. So much so that I'm surprised it was made in 1977, because as we know, it was a slow year for movies. Slow year. Like 2 movies that came out of note.
Stato, have you been feeling depressed for long? Suicidal for long?
No suicidal at all. I'm seeing things clearer than ever. This is like a Lovecraft kind of clear, just before you see the frickin' creature thing like that. I can see it all.
Okay, then my second question is, whatever drugs you're on, why aren't you sharing them with us?
Because well, you know what? These are the kind of drugs. It's called the 70s. When you watch it, it's a drug that takes all the color out of the room and replaces it with brown and burgundy.
Okay, I can't really argue with that.
I can't argue with that.
I did watch, when it didn't make it into my list, I watched Airport 77, which is a lot of fun. But there was so much brown in that film. Brown and beige. And it was meant to be trendy and high tech. That I was like, wow, the 70s were, the color of the 70s was brown.
It's like the 60s Technicolor was ridiculous, and the film industry said we got to pull it back a little, and then the 70s happened. They said too much. We went too far. I
can agree with that sentiment, because like Wullie, there's a movie that didn't make it on my list, and that was George A. Romero's Martin. And if you wanted to describe that movie in one word, brown.
Decade of the earth tone.
Polyester as well.
Polyester earth tone.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what he's talking about there, but it says a chap with a noose behind him.
Talking about me being suicidal.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I say. Thanks, Pete. Somebody's got my back around here.
Right, Stato, thrill us with your next choice, your number 9.
What's your turn?
Yeah, he just did his number 9. Bridge Too Far.
So you did. Sorry.
He wanted to hear more.
You know what put me off there? I can see what your number 8 is. That's what put me off. Okay, so I'll
keep all of it.
Right. My number 9 is I don't know, I'm not going to get Exorcist 2 in here, but I've got a film from the guy who directed the first Exorcist in here. And my number 9 is by and far the cheeriest, most fun movie of 1977. Not, and it's Sorcerer. It's William Friedkin's remake of Wages of Fear. And I almost had it higher, but it's number 9, which I think is pretty good, and it is better than Star Wars.
I second that motion.
I was hoping for Jean-Claude Van Damme's Sound of Music. But... He is alive!
You're just saying that because Pistolian Dave's here.
That's right. I need to give him something.
Sorcerer. Have you both seen Sorcerer?
Yes.
No.
Sorcerer.
I bet it's magical.
It's amazing. It's the bleakest, most depressing, most grueling movie.
Dang, you're selling it.
Ever made by a major Hollywood studio with a big budget, and it's got
absolutely breathtaking.
Robert Duvall's in it. It's got an amazing cast, and it's about these characters from different parts of the world. We got a terrorist / freedom fighter guy from the Middle East. We've got a getaway driver from New York, and we have a guy who's just about to go to jail for embezzlement or some kind of dodgy deals in France, and they all have to escape and basically disappear, and they end up in quite possibly the most horrible place on the planet. And it's kind of like if Casablanca had been made by, I don't know, Trauma. That's what the place is like, and they are.
Wow.
And they, in order to try and get out of there, they take this mission where they have to. And this mission doesn't happen for the last half hour of the movie. It's like the first. It's a long movie. They take this mission to drive nitroglycerine through the jungle in these wonky trucks, and try not to have them blow up. And it's amazing. It's an amazing movie. It really flopped. It's the biggest flop ever, I think, from major studio, and I don't think it got any good reviews. I think there's no good reviews it got, and Friedkin considers it his best movie.
I would have put all those pull quotes on the DVD box or the VHS box. Just like, this movie sucked.
Yeah, it's a remake of Wages of Fear, so it's a remake of a French movie, which is really good. So the critics are going to dislike it to begin with, because how dare you remake a classic French movie kind of thing?
Makes sense.
But yeah, so I put that in at my number 9.
Fantastic choice, may I just say, Wullie, because that is such an incredible movie. I didn't put it in at number 9.
No,
I did put it in somewhere else. We'll get there.
All right.
Later,
okay, we'll let you kind of when you get. So what have you got in then at number 9?
Well, number 9 was a movie that I've been meaning to watch for about a year now. I never knew it existed, and I found it one day, and I was like, that sounds amazing. I like the sounds of the cast as well. And some sources said it was made in 1979, and when I looked closer, it's like, no, 1977. And I watched it. I thought it was a brilliant movie, but I was there for ages going, is this better than Star Wars or not? I can't tell. And after a little bit of deliberation, I thought, no, actually, I think it is better than Star Wars. And it's a prison movie called Short Eyes, which stars Bruce Davison, and Curtis Mayfield makes an appearance in it as well, if I remember correctly. And it's about life in New York's toughest prison. I can't remember the nickname that they give for the prison. It's something like the Tombs or something like that. And this is where a lot of criminals are. Some of them are there for short stays because they're fighting legal battles. But, you know, they all get along, but they also hate each other at the same time. There's a big racial divide in there as well, but it's more in jest than in hate. And then one day, Bruce Davison's character, Clark, turns up. And instantly, some of the white prisoners come along and they're like, hey, you can trust us because we're the same race, this, that, and the other. And they're all getting on friendly with him until a guard comes in and says, hey, you come here. You're a piece of shit. Don't expect any goodwill from us. And he says, because I have an 8-year-old niece who was attacked by a pervert like you. And they all realize that he's in there for child molestation. But the thing is, he can't remember whether he was actually guilty of it or not. And it's about his time in that prison. And it sounds very heavy, and it is heavy, but it is an absolutely incredible movie. Once again, one hell of a twist at the end. I'm not going to say anymore because I don't want to ruin it. Basically, there's one guy in the prison who actually doesn't give a shit about this guy, but tries to look out for him, but he feels wrong for doing it. He feels like he's betraying the other prisoners that he's with. So he's got this huge moral conflict going on because he's trying to figure out, did this guy do it? And the guy doesn't know himself whether he did it or not because of the circumstances surrounding the crime. If you haven't seen it, please do check it out. It is a fucking brilliant movie.
Cool. I mean, Curtis Mayfield did the soundtrack as well. 1970s prison, Bleak.
Yeah.
I'm there, double bill with Sorcerer, sorted.
Yeah, no, if you do it as a double bill with Sorcerer, you'll have a great fucking time, seriously. That's a perfect
I can't believe I've not seen that film. So, yeah, thanks. That's when it's going on my list.
Now, let's check in with Pete and see how far his to-watch list is.
Dave says, I had to dig real deep for this 15 years before my birth. My pick, Saturday Night Fever. That's where he's at.
Well, keep on watching, Dave, and we'll see if Saturday Night Fever actually makes it into any of our top 10s. Oh, Stato.
Hello,
Kentucky
Stato.
Fried Movie.
I saw this movie when I was a teenager, and that's probably the perfect age to see this particular movie. And maybe the closest thing America got to a Monty Python type movie. It was very similar in the way, you know, you just got these little, sometimes perverted, sometimes funny shorts. There were so many people in this movie. They didn't even bother to put anything on the poster or anything. You had like, I know Bill Bixby made an appearance. There was, they took this line from that and put it in the Blade movie from The Fistful of Yen. The Wizard of Oz stuff. This movie goes absolutely everywhere. It's a great movie to just distract yourself with. You will forget about the rest of the world watching this movie. I guarantee that. You're going to be staring at like, what? And then you'll laugh, and then you'll go, what? Through most of this movie. But yeah, I haven't watched it in a while, but I still remember most of what happened, and I try to forget sometimes some of it. Because holy crap, this movie has everything, as I said. Everything.
There are
Catholic high school girls in trouble, exactly.
There are a couple of great skits in this movie. There's one that I'd love to mention, but it's probably best not. Otherwise, we'll be taken down very quickly.
It's not a movie that YouTube love anymore.
It's got that Porky's humor in it.
It is a good movie. For me, I don't think it's better than Star Wars, and I think...
No, I don't know that it's better than Star Wars, but it was one of the ones that I would say would be as memorable.
I think one thing that works against it is the Enter the Dragon parody. Like, I'm not saying that's a bad parody that's done within the movie. It's just, if you haven't seen Enter the Dragon and then you watch this, you've got no point watching Enter the Dragon, because even though it's a parody, it's just spoiling most of the movie. And I absolutely adore Enter the Dragon and think that's such an amazing movie.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this in years.
Yeah,
I'm kind of wary of it going back to it in case it's not as funny as I remember.
It's very much a product of its time. That's for sure. It's getting closer to a historical document than, like it's like some of those Saturday Night Live skits where you watch it and some of it's not relevant these days.
Yeah,
because it was made, in the 70s, but there's still, I think, enough there to get a laugh out of it, especially if you've seen it. Pete knows. Pete's a big fan.
Oh yeah, he's just going away in there. Hey Stella, good to see you.
Stella, how's it going?
Get another vote there for Saturday Night Fever, I think. Okay, cool. So that, I like I said, I'm just wary of going back to it in case it's not as funny.
Well, it won't probably be as funny as the first time you saw it.
I did watch Airport 77, as I mentioned earlier. There were moments in that where it was kind of like watching Airplane. And now people say you can't go back and watch these things again after you've seen a parody. You can. They're just as much fun. In fact, they're even more fun because you see the parodic kind of elements that have been used in all these other films. But cool. So number 8. What have I got for number 8? I don't have any graphics. Number 8, another huge flop in 1977 I've picked. Huge flop from a great director, Martin Scorsese, and I've picked New York, New York in my top 10. And it's the director's cut, right? Which I don't know. I suppose I shouldn't be picking director's cut because that wasn't the one that was released in cinema in 77. But
it's very different from you.
First one that I saw. I know it's very different from me. He was convinced by the studio to cut out the sequence at the end, the happy ending sequence, which is the big Hollywood musical number. The movie's much better with it. It's even without it, it's an amazing movie. It's got all the 70s sensibilities wrapped up with an old-fashioned Hollywood musical love story. It doesn't completely work, but that doesn't really matter. It's trying to do a lot of things, and you get a lot from it as a viewer, especially if you like old movies and you like old musicals. And Liza Minnelli's really, really good in it. De Niro's good as well, but she kind of steals the film. And so it's New York, New York. If anybody likes Scorsese and they've maybe never watched that one, make sure you get the director's cut and watch it. And I think you'll enjoy it because he's made a lot of movies since that don't quite hit the mark, but when you go back to them, they're pretty good. Gangs of New York is another one. You think they weren't really big at the time, they didn't quite hit the mark, but there's a lot more to them than they were given credit for. And
definitely.
So New York, New York, and is it better than Star Wars? It's just as good as Star Wars. And I don't know. But yeah, I'm saying probably better than Star Wars. That's my number 8.
That was one of the movies that I had lined up to watch, but I just couldn't find a free 3 days in a row to watch all of it.
Yeah, it's a long movie. No, it's that. Yeah, there's a lot of long movies in the 70s as well, but there's also a lot of like 97, 99-minute ones as well, which I'm
absolutely. And one thing I really liked about watching these movies is there were plenty that were slow burns, but the payoff was so worth it. And I love a good slow burn story, so it's nice to experience some of these.
The 70s did do this thing an awful lot where they just ended a movie. Boom.
Yeah.
Just like that. Sometimes it worked brilliantly. Other times you just kind of went,
probably ran out of budget for film.
Yeah. Well, what's the film that does that? That you could it just ends. It's not for 77, but Valdez is coming. The Burt Lancaster one. It just kind of ends, and you're left like thinking, what? So I'm sure Christopher Nolan's a huge fan of that film. So that's my number 8. So Christopher, what's your number 8?
My number 8 is one that I would say it does end just like that. And I think it's a great concept for a movie, very simple and done very well. It's called Capricorn 1.
Oh, right, yeah.
With O.J. Simpson and is it James Brolin?
James Brolin, and then it's got loads of people in that. Brenda Vaccaro's in it. Chewie.
A great cast, and I just think it's a great concept for a movie and a very simple one. You know, NASA's going to send these 3 astronauts up to Mars. At the last minute, they're taken out of the shuttle, but the shuttle still goes up, and everyone's being told across the TV networks, yep, they're off to Mars and stuff. But only the astronauts know that there's a little bit of a conspiracy going on. And they obviously didn't go up in the shuttle, and they've got to fake the Mars landing in a special built studio. They can't let anyone know that they didn't go to Mars. And there's a reporter played by Elliot Gould who does a great job, who's slowly unraveling the threads and discovering it for himself. And as he gets closer to it, there's some people who really don't want this secret to get out. And it's just such a fun movie. Great movie. Perfect movie for a Sunday afternoon.
Right. Yeah, I started watching that run at time something came up I had to deal with. But yeah, I was all ready to enjoy it again. So I'll get it lined up to watch it, like you say, some Sunday afternoon soon.
Yeah.
So it's good to know it still stands up.
I think so.
Capricorn 1. Stato, are you a fan of Capricorn 1?
Haven't seen it. Can see that one.
You haven't seen it?
Oh, you need to give it a go, mate. Need to give it a go.
You'll enjoy it.
Elliot Gould. Is that who I think that is? That's who I think that is.
Yeah, it is who you think it is.
Very dry individual.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Here we go.
Good choice.
Time for me to try to defend myself once again. Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger.
Oh, fantastic.
Got some great stop motion stuff in there. It was, it's got nothing on the Lou Ferrigno version, but where he threw his own chariot into space.
That is something else.
But most of the Sinbad movies are all fascinating to me because they're somewhere between like really big budget awesome and like B-movie jank, but they're always like fun adventure stories that you could kind of just get lost in for a little bit. A lot of imagination, not always, the execution's not always like 100%, but it is usually one of those, like, not a bad way to spend some time with a movie situation. Brilliant. I don't know that you really regret it, but it's one of those things that, like, I think with a little bit more of a budget, this probably could have given Star Wars a run for its money in effects and all that stuff.
I don't know. I saw that in the cinema when it came out, and I enjoyed it more than Star Wars. Yeah.
It's a great fun adventure thing, but I think Star Wars. It's a roller coaster ride. It's a one of those templates more for the modern blockbuster nowadays.
Definitely.
And that's really hard to stand up against. And I think this one, while not quite there, it's sort of like holding on to the old times while trying to update it with like some of the Harryhausen stuff. But I got a kick out of this movie. It's not a bad movie at all.
Good choice.
Yeah, no, I really like it. I like the whole idea as well. They've got the baboon and it's regressing more and more. It's getting more violent and stuff. There's loads of cool stuff in this movie. Patrick Troughton's in it. Jane Seymour. Yeah, it's great. I love it. It was almost in my top 10. Yeah. Good choice, starter.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, so, just because we've not had enough depressing movies,
I can't wait.
No, we're not.
That's the 70s. You know, what are you going to do?
We're number 7, aren't we? We're number 7. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, number 7.
Yeah, so we're number 7. Hang on a second. What have we done here? I wrote them down. Right, number 7. Number 7, I have Slapshot, which has already been chosen as a movie. But I cheated and I put in a joint number 7 because there was a lot of sports movies out in the 70s and there was a lot of sports movies that weren't necessarily made just for sports fans, like Slapshot, for instance. And I've got Slapshot equal number 7 with another sports movie called Semi-Tough.
I almost watched it.
Right.
I didn't.
Yeah. So Semi-Tough is like Burt Lancaster, Burt Reynolds. That's me at the airport movies. I've been watching the blooming airport movies, haven't I? Burt Reynolds, Chris Christopherson is 2 footballers, and it's incredibly 70s. It's probably very offensive to just about anybody who watches it.
Yeah.
I'm amazed it wasn't offensive to everybody at the time.
Anything Burt Reynolds was in back then is not a thing to be made today.
Yeah, but it's like it's so clever, it's so well written. It's a satire on sports, and it's but more importantly, it's a satire on the whole kind of like self-help new age stuff that was prevalent in the 70s, and you still get all that malarkey and rubbish knocking about today. And it's funny. It's also got a kind of an old screwball comedy aspect to it as well, and it has Brian Dennehy playing a kind of like a really tough but kind of backwards player on the team who at one point holds a woman over a balcony and threatens to drop her at a party and has to be talked down by Chris Christopherson. It's one of these movies with scenes like that. It's just little vignettes and things that happen. And if you know going in that you're going to get stuff that's going to be thoroughly offensive, the cast are likable and it's an enjoyable movie. And I watched it the other day and I was actually surprised I still enjoyed it as much as I did when I saw it when I was a kid. It wasn't offensive to me when I was a kid, of course. It was the 70s. Nobody was offended by Ed back then. But yeah, that's my number 7 is Slapshot and Semi-Tough both together. Yeah.
So your number 7 is basically the double bill that I should be watching on Sunday.
That's the double bill you should be watching.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It totally is.
Brilliant. Number 7 for me. Look, I've got a confession to make. Okay, I'm someone. I know I write these horrible books, as some people might see them, these dark, disturbing little books. But I am a softie. I do like a good romance story, and this is one that I'd never seen before. Watched it for this show, and I had a great time because it's so different from any other kind of romance story out there, and that's Woody Allen's Annie Hall. And I think most people know what it's about. I don't really need to say much more. If you haven't seen it, you should. It's such a good movie, so unique. The humor is so spot on as well, and the way that Woody Allen uses the breaking of the fourth wall, I think, is absolutely genius. And I could watch this movie over and over again. So yeah, it made number 7 on my list.
It's like, we might talk about it later as well, so let's not talk too much about it just now then.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I still say things and that come for that movie, and there's still stuff. It's like, even if my wife will see me when I get out of the car, she'll say, can you walk to the curb, kind of thing, for Annie Hall. But it only makes sense if you watch the movie. Great choice. Yeah, fantastic. But before Stato gives us his number 7, I've just got Pete's got a message here. Lord Arse Biscuits is watching us on TV. Yeah. Oh man, I look terrible on the telly. I should put one of these filters on.
I look great.
Yeah, I know you do. You don't even age or anything. He saw Damnation Alley and The Incredible Melting Man.
Wow. I love The Incredible Melting Man. It's not on my list, but I love that movie. It's funny enough. I actually, this is going back to about 2013, 2014. There was a chap who was he was just starting like a new magazine that was going to be in all the stores, focused on like old school trashy movies and music and stuff and comics. And he said to me that he had actually obtained the rights to do a sequel to The Incredible Melting Man as a comic called The Son of the Incredible Melting Man, and he wanted me to work on it. And I signed the contracts and all that. I said, yes, I so want to work on that. And then 2 days later, he passed away in his sleep, and it never happened. The magazine never got off the ground.
No.
Such a shame.
I never saw The Incredible Melting Man in the cinema. I remember seeing the trailer on TV, the TV spot, and thinking, oh, that looks amazing.
It is. It is absolutely fantastic, and for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Yes, Stella, that's the Annie Hall's the one with the lobsters. Great.
Yes,
the lobsters and the big spider in the bath.
Okay, speaking of romance, I almost put World's Greatest Lover with Gene Hackman, or not Gene Wilder, on the list. But that didn't quite make it. Are
you just taking the mickey here? Was that nearly on your list?
Almost. I was like, hey, a Wilder movie. I watched some of it and I was like, well, it's really wacky.
All right, I'll be honest, I haven't seen that for a bit.
I think it's on YouTube. I was watching it on YouTube, but it is a really like crazy movie. Very crazy movie. It's like it taking the what do you call it? The Mel Brooks formula and just cranking it up really, really hard.
Yeah.
Because Wilder was super overacting in that movie. Fun, but I mean, it just didn't make my list. So let's see what the next one is here. Orca, the killer whale. This is, it's like part of the list, but it's also part of what I feel like it needs a remake. I feel like it needs a remake. This is like if John Wick were a killer whale. Like, no joke. He's sitting there watching, and this whaler ship takes up his wife, and they pull it in, and then the kid spills out on the deck, and this whale is just watching with just rage in his eyes. So he ends up doing like a reverse Ahab thing, and he's hunting down Ahab, right? The dude that killed his wife and kids.
Sold. Don't say anymore. I'm sold. I'm sold before you even got to that bit.
I need to revisit Orca now. That's
not a great movie. It's the Jaws ripoff, but I think with a remake, this could be awesome. Especially if he's gripping a samurai sword in his mouth while he's swimming around, and just
Orca versus John Wick.
Pulls that up like
John Wick versus John Wick.
He just swims right across the boat and just like cuts the whole like hull, and then they're all going down. He's eating people, and he pulls a machine gun out with his flipper, and he just like it works underwater. Yeah, that would be awesome. But it could be like Sharknado. But
Stato, the moment you said if John Wick was a killer whale, you had sold me. You'd stop trying to sell this. I'm already sold.
Yeah,
not a great movie.
I think we need to say that has been officially trademarked, copyrighted to Statistical Whale Zero, so nobody else pick up that idea. Okay,
absolutely.
But I think
I remember that poster on the back of comic books back then as well. It's an amazing.
Yeah, this poster doesn't deliver on what the movie is, but I think a remake. This is one of those ones that like it's got some good ideas, but a remake would be better.
It's got a Morricone score as well, so it's there's stuff in there. Yeah, good choice. I'm just checking the chat here. PJ, Incredible Melting Man 2, slow for seconds. Yeah, nicely done. Almost made Izzy's list as well. Good stuff. It did indeed. Bo Derek. Took me more 70s than that, do you? Right. So that was okay. So what's next? What's up next? Oh yeah, okay.
Number 6.
We've had 2 comedies from you, so back on track. And my number 6 is Sam Peckinpah's Cross of Iron.
Nice. I didn't get a chance to watch it, unfortunately.
Oh, I'd forgotten. I thought, is this going to like live up? Is it going to be as good as I remember it? Again, it's very 70s. It's stuff in it you'd be like, whoa, watching it. But terrific movie about German soldiers on the Russian front, basically losing. James Coburn is leading. He's kind of like he's leading his platoon, and you've got James Mason, you've got David Warner, you've got Maximilian Schell, all in it, and so you can't go wrong with the actors, that's for sure. And Peckinpah is at full tilt with this film. Doesn't hold back at all, and it's an intelligent movie. It's at times a kind of surreal and odd movie, and it has one of those 70s endings that just makes you go, what? So it's an amazing, incredibly violent, entertaining anti-war war movie. So Cross of Iron, if you haven't seen it, a lot of people have seen Peckinpah's Wild Bunch or Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid or something like that. Give this one a watch. And James Coburn is really good in it. So that's my number 6, Cross of Iron.
Fantastic. Like I said, that's another one that I wanted to watch and just didn't get to it, unfortunately. My number 6 is one that I'm sure people are going to be like, why is that not higher? I do honestly believe this is a better movie than Star Wars. I watched it for the first time a few days ago, especially for this show. Well, it was a bit longer than a few days ago, maybe a week. And that is Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah,
what
brilliant.
A movie! So damn good. And it definitely stands up today. The effects in it are brilliant. The acting's brilliant. I would love to turn around and say, but this little thing, I wasn't too happy about that, but I just can't. The moment I put it on, it's one of those movies, you see the runtime and you think, oh, that's a bit long for my taste. But it feels shorter than what the runtime is. And I always appreciate that with movies, especially ones like this one. It was just absolutely incredible.
Good choice. I always watch the theatrical cut for that. So I've gone back to my...
Yeah.
The other cuts are fine, but I like the theatrical cut. Probably because I saw it 3 times in the cinema. I managed to wangle my way as an 11-year-old to get people to take me to see it 3 times when it came out. And I think I enjoyed it. It is better than Star Wars. I think I enjoyed it better than Star Wars as well, because it does have the horror sensibilities about it too.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially as a kid watching that in the cinema, it was proper scary stuff at times. And good choice. It's on my list as well, so we'll get to it again. But
excellent.
Stato, have you partaken of the third kind?
I've seen it. It's not bad. It's all right. It's okay. You like that kind of thing, I guess. I would like to actually, before we move on, read this blurb. Look at this. Orca, the killer whale, is one of the most intelligent creatures in the universe. In the universe, mind you. Incredibly, he's the only animal other than the man who kills for revenge. He has one mate, and if she's harmed by a man, he will hunt that person down with relentless, terrible vengeance across seas, across time, and across obstacles. Where was this movie? When this movie came on, he just goes off into the universe and time travels to kill Richard Harris. That missed opportunities. Okay, next one.
Like I said before,
we do have some Close Encounters. Pete started his own UFO Spotters Club after watching it. Wow,
nice.
Only lasted 2 months, but it was 2 months was a long time back then.
Included all those UFOs were stars.
Yeah, and I also had a photo book of Close Encounters. I've no longer got mine, but that'd be great if you still got yours, PG. Anyway, yeah. Oh,
I love it.
Nice.
Spy Who Loved Me.
Possibly one of. Did we decide this was one of Roger Moore's higher points? I feel like we did.
I think I pretty much had that as like one of my top 3 as far as I remember.
Yeah, I had a lot of iconic moments like to his tenure in this movie alone. Jaws, the car. It was a heck of a movie for Bond. This one, I don't remember I don't think it made as much Star Wars.
No, No, I don't think it is. I think Star Wars was the top grossing one in 1977, and behind that was The Deep.
No, there was one. I believe there was one between The Deep and Star Wars, which I think is on my list. Yeah.
Oh.
Empire of the Ants.
No. Empire Event Strikes Back. But yes, this is. I mean, we've already talked about it quite a bit on this channel.
Yeah.
It doesn't need a whole lot of explanation.
Yes, just perfection.
Wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't on somebody else's list.
Yeah, maybe not as high as you think, though. But UFOs really was this status you put up. Okay. Oh, you've got a recreation of your own UFO sighting on your YouTube channel. We need to watch that.
Oh, yes,
heads up on that.
Definitely.
Yeah. I would normally think that, but I put my objective hat on tonight, Pete. So spoiler, Spy Who Loved Me is not at my number one. Oh, but that's a really good pick there. So number 5, Suspiria.
I knew it.
Nice.
Yep. It was. They've been jumping about. At one point, it was number 2. But yeah, Suspiria is probably the most Dario Argento movie that he's ever made. But it's also the one that's got it's the most Mario Bava-esque Argento movie that he's ever made, and probably one of the most coherent, while at the same time being surreal. So it's just an amazing tour de force that assaults the senses. Every time I watch it, I find something different in it, and I love the artificial quality of it, the artifice of it. It's like all the Hitchcock qualities are there, along with all the different kind of like things that influence Argento. And it's sort of. I had to put one European horror movie in my top 10 for the 70s, because every year had a good one. And Suspiria is probably the top one of the decade. So yeah, so at number 5.
Fantastic. Suspiria is on my list, but it's not number 5.
Oh, Izzy's got it at his number 1. Whoa. Yeah. Again, I'm trying to be objective with this. I'm picking ones I really like.
No, absolutely. When this all began, I wrote like a draft list where I was being completely subjective. And the movie that I've got at number 5 on my original draft of the list was actually at number 1. So I rewatched it objectively and went, this is still a fucking great movie, but it's not the number 1. Now, one thing I loved about this year for movie is 4 of my favorite directors all made a movie that year. David Lynch, David Cronenberg, Dario Argento, and Lucio Fulci. And David Lynch made it at number 5 with Eraserhead. I absolutely adore this movie. It is batshit crazy. I know it's not for everyone, and it is once again a bit like Sorcerer. It is very bleak, and there's a depressing quality to it.
But I think it's anything with his head, though.
It's so imaginative. It is so creative. It's so artistic. I love everything about it. The soundscape to it as well is so haunting. And yeah, I just cannot say enough good things about it. But you know what? Most people have seen it, and you either love it or you hate it. It's a very Marmite kind of movie in that respect. And if someone turns around to me and says, I can't stand that movie, I can't blame them. I can actually understand where they're coming from. But for me, I absolutely adore it. I knew it was going to be on this list. Like I said, originally it was going to be number 1, but after rewatching it, it ended up making number 5.
Stato, you a big Eraserhead fan?
Like I said, he didn't erase one thing with his head. I kept on waiting for the big moment. Didn't happen. Not the creepy baby. Not maybe like a little of the black and white to reveal some color or something like that. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's a movie that I hate or love. I'm gonna go ahead and be a contrarian and say I'm a very indifferent man.
not a fan of it. I get it. I see everything that's there, and I can understand why he would then be offered a position to make better movies. So I can see why he would be given something like The Elephant Man after making Eraserhead.
Are his fans called the Lynch Mob or what?
No, but they fucking should be, shouldn't they? And if you haven't subscribed to David Lynch's YouTube channel, I recommend you change that as soon as possible. Yeah, because it's just so Lynch.
I don't hate Eraserhead, but I can't sit through it. I sat through it once in my life, and that was enough. I admire his work as an artist rather than sit through it. So I mean, I'd rather sit through a surrealist type movie by Boone Well than by Lynch, because I think it just there's more to it. Although that's just that one movie. When you come to like World at Heart and Blue Velvet, fire.
What about Lost Highway? I personally, I think Lost Highway is incredible.
They're all fantastic. I did see Blue Velvet in the cinema with a mate of mine when it first came out, and the cinema was just rolling about. People were just rolling about laughing at it. It was a black comedy. And then I saw it in a mainstream cinema with somebody else. I appeared to be the only person that thought it was a comedy. Realised straight away that I need to stop laughing at this movie because nobody else does. So there's that quality about his films as well. It was quite good. They can be seen in lots of different ways. So I do like him and his work. But yeah, good choice. But yeah, not nowhere near my top 10. And I would say Star Wars was better than it.
Oh.
I know.
Each to their own.
Each to their own. But it's funny you're mentioning like films. My first list had films. Oh, just like that. My first list had the car in it. But that was a very subjective list. So as much as I do love the car, I tell you what, I dislike. You get extras on the Blu-rays and they put in the trailers from hell. Right, so they always include these things these days, and you've got, I think it was John Landis talking about it, and he was really ripping it to shreds about how a terrible movie it was. And I was thinking, no, it's not a terrible movie, it's a really good movie. Made against like adversity with a low budget and everything else. So yeah, I'm kind of went off when I was listening to his commentary for that. But yeah, no, I do like the car, but it's not going to make my top 10. But there's a few. You mentioned Lucio Fulci. He was kind of jumping about in my top 10, but I don't know. You'll need to find out whether I put him there or not. But my number 4, we're not going to talk about it much because my number 4 is.
What about Stato's number 4?
Oh, it's still me.
What about Stato's number 4?
What's Stato's 4?
Yeah, I'm going to stare at you awkwardly for a second.
I'm getting so confused by this. I thought Spider Movie was number 4. No.
Next one. Hills Have Guys Trying to Kill You.
All right.
I had to choose this poster because it looked way cooler than the other poster.
Good choice. I'm going to say really good choice. Not one that I personally would have put in my top 10, but still a really good choice. That
Wes Craven, he reinvented horror like 3 or 4 times.
Whether it's easily.
For better or worse, this was one of the 4 times. You had like Last House on the Left. You had this. You had Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream. And it's a movie. I mean, the remake, pretty decent. I could see where people would, like the actor here, I can't remember. Do you remember his name, Wullie?
Michael Berryman, isn't it?
Michael Berryman, yeah. I think this would be like his movie that they'd put on his tombstone when he's gone. If he isn't gone already, I'm not sure. Is he still alive?
I think he is.
Yes, I think he is.
Yeah, I feel like this is the one he's going to be known for. But I mean, like as a horror fan, a classic horror fan, and a Wes Craven fan, this is one of those ones to take a look at, if nothing else, for like your historical significance in terms of what he said. So I had to put it on the list.
Good choice. That would have been on my subjective list if I was just putting ones on, because I just remember watching it on a kind of like a ripped off pirate VHS back in the day, and it was all grimy and fun to watch. But
best way to watch that movie.
It's one of the few movies that the first time I watched it, really didn't like it. Second time I watched it, loved it.
Sweet.
Yep.
Wullie, what's number 4?
Yeah, well, I'm glad I've got no idea who's doing what now. I've completely lost the plot with this. My number 4 is Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Nice.
So we have talked about Close Encounters.
You didn't put that at 3?
No, I didn't. It's a number 4, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and it's I watched it again about a month or two ago, and it's really good. And I mentioned earlier, I almost put like a Francois Truffaut film in just because I wanted to get him in twice because he's in this as an actor. It's good. Richard Dreyfuss, who's terrific in it.
Yep.
And he was also the same year, he was in The Goodbye Girl, which again is another one that's another one of those subjective ones for me, but I haven't seen it recently, so I didn't want to throw it in. But it is, I remember it being good because it's got that kind of nice Neil Simon witty dialogue. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I would say that's my pick for like science fiction film, or the 77 best science fiction film of 77 by far.
Nice.
Right. Nice. Mr. Storm.
My number 4 is a movie that I only watched for the first time. I tried to watch it a couple of weeks back, but unfortunately there was some problems, so I only got to watch it recently. And wow, I absolutely loved it. There's a few handful of movies that I would classify as being truly nihilistic kind of movies. Not many of them. Things like Bad Boy Bubby and Abel Ferrara's Bad Lieutenant from '92 kind of fall under that list. And now I add Sorcerer to that list for sure. It is fucking brilliant. But if you are anywhere close to, I'm happy, but not that happy, don't watch it. Because you will fall from grace into a deep pit of despair. But apart from that, watch it because it is phenomenal. I love William Friedkin's work. I think The Exorcist is one of the most brilliant movies ever made. And I don't think Sorcerer tops The Exorcist, but fuck me, does it come close. That ending was... It was one of those moments where you're like, what? No. And his documentary style carries over, but it's less prevalent in this movie. It's used when it needs to be used, and when he uses it, it's fantastic.
It's proper documentary style as well. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not that little shaky cam pretending it's documentary, because that's not what documentary footage is like.
And there's real tension all the way through. You couldn't watch this movie to relax.
No.
Like if you are on edge when you go into it, you are like times that by 100 easily by the time you get halfway through the fucking movie, let alone by the end.
Yep.
But it is just so many memorable moments in this movie that you're like, fucking hell, that is so clever. Just absolutely love it.
Well, me too. You've got it higher than me, but I made it. It made it into a top 10. It's definitely better than Star Wars. There you go. You freaked out. Radical cartoons. I
feel like my list should be called movies that are as or more memorable than Star Wars, because I'm not 100% sure most of them are better than Star Wars.
Apart from Orca. But
apart from Orca, sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Of course.
Mel Brooks' High Anxiety is the next one.
Man, that made my honorable mentions.
Oh, did it? Yeah, it's a parody of Alfred Hitchcock movies. It was his first, I think, speaking role, because he did silent movie, I believe, before this. And just it's a Mel Brooks movie, so you know what you're going to get. It's going to be fun. It's not his best movie by far. He certainly, came into his own later on, but it's still a good time. Still a fun movie.
Yeah. That was on my list to watch, and I never get around to it. But yeah, good choice. I remember
definitely a good choice. Like I said, it made my honorable mentions. I felt that it fell flat in a couple of places. It felt like it was kind of a blueprint. If you get what I mean.
It was definitely he found his ways to improve. Not his best movie. It's kind of like if you're a Wes Anderson fan, like that when he did Rushmore, and then you're like, okay, I kind of see a little bit coming in, and then it wasn't really till Royal Tenenbaums when he kind of became Wes Anderson with his little plays and stuff like that, like plays on film. It's kind of similar to this.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I just remember I remember the scenes as piss takes a Hitchcock rather than much more about it, because it's been that long since I've seen it. I think I've seen other films. Silent Movie, that was my school film club showed Silent Movie. I remember, so that's stuck in my head. They also showed Grizzly, so let's not go there.
No, let's.
I've talked about it before. It was the greatest film club ever. I showed Rollerball. It was amazing. I had to sack the teacher the next year when it was in charge yet. Right. Okay. So that's High Anxiety. So where are we? Who's next?
Wullie.
It was me. All right. Number 3. What? Okay. My number 3 is The Spy Who Loved Me. Right. So it's not. Yeah, I know it's not my number 1 for 77. But it's amazing. It's just an amazing Bond film. We've talked about it loads of times before. It's just got a nice level of camp, along with just enough of a hard edge here and there for Roger Moore. I say hard edge, you know what I mean? It's not quite, but he still does all the Bondian type stuff, and it's got Caroline Munro. It's got a very short sequence with Valerie Leon as well. So it's got that kind of hammer tinge, which I was well aware of as a kid because I was watching all these movies on TV and I'm seeing these faces from people that were in them. Just to go back to Airport 77 for a minute, Christopher Lee was in that and he had a really good role, and they killed him off first. So I lost interest after then, but yeah, so it had that kind of thing going for it as well. It's peak Bond and the best of Roger Moore. So that's my number 3, The Spy Who Loved Me.
Well, I would have put The Spy Who Loved Me on my list. But the thing is, I loved watching James Bond movies as a kid. But I haven't seen any of them since I was a kid. I stopped after License to Kill. So I've got a lot to rewatch and a lot to catch up on. So unfortunately, it didn't make my list. I do apologize, gentlemen. Now, I may owe you more apologies in a moment because my third entry on my list, I think a lot of you are going to think is an absolute piss take, and I am being deadly serious. I think I've said a few controversial things on your channel, Wullie. This is probably going to be the most controversial thing I ever say. Because I'm being brutally honest, I do think this is better than Star Wars. I'm prepared to get shot. It's fine. My third entry is The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
It's not a bad movie. It wasn't a great year, 77 for Disney, but that's not a bad flick.
I thought it was great. I hadn't seen it since I was a kid. I didn't intend to rewatch it. It just came up on that list of movies from 77. I was like, fuck it. I've got to do it. I've got to rewatch it because I used to watch that loads when I was a
kid. You're getting no arguments from me. Yeah, that's good. I thought for a minute it might have been The Rescuers, but I'll go with Winnie the Pooh.
But yeah, watching it as a 41-year-old, I had an absolute whale of a time, and I was like, "This is amazing." The moment it ended, I was like, "I want to watch it again." It's just so good. So yeah, my number 3 is The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
It was an interesting year for animation with Rescuers, and I think The Hobbit came out that year too.
Yeah, it did.
That was very interesting for animation.
Yeah, all very different movies. Rescuers, super bleak. Winnie the Pooh, very, very wholesome and like uplifting. And then The Hobbit, somewhere in between with the weird rotoscope.
Running out of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, at least it was very varied. Cool. What I got next? House.
this is one of the ones I wanted to watch.
I almost put that one in. That was
I saw the trailer. Fever Dream. Oh my gosh, this is there is. Yeah, a lot of these ideas were taken from a 10-year-old girl, and Toho put this off 2 years because nobody wanted to direct it. So the one guy that wrote it got to direct it himself, and it's like a weird fever dream of comedy, fantasy, and horror. And people have kind of noticed that like Sam Raimi style. This is like a Sam Raimi kind of movie, like you're watching like Army of Darkness or Evil Dead 2 in particular, those type of movies. Far more successful, but this was when it came out in Japan, people didn't care for it at all. It was like, I don't know if it was too gory or if it was like the tone was all over the place, where it's like scary.
Crazy. That's why it is absolutely mental, that film.
But it's a you won't forget it once you see it. But I mean, they do throw everything and the kitchen sink right at your face.
This was almost I almost put this one in. I'm so glad you put it in. I did not expect it to pop up in your top 10. That's great.
That is fantastic. I really wanted to watch this movie for this show, but I couldn't get hold of a copy with English subtitles.
Yeah, no, I could. It's been years since I've seen it.
Well, I know Criterion put one out. I don't know.
I don't know if it'll look as good if it's like in 4K and all cleaned up and everything.
I don't know. I was thinking about
Pan and Scan 70s VHS of it.
Yeah, it's a 70s. I mean, like a Blu-ray. I think I thought about buying it, but I didn't. But this one, yeah, it's trippy. It's
trippy, but
absolutely trippy. But yeah, after finding out that like a lot of ideas were from like a little girl, like it changes the entire perspective of the movie for me.
Yeah, I didn't know that. It does. It's like, and even the effects, they don't really try that hard to make them anything look like anything.
No, but they still look great for 77, especially Japan.
Yeah,
at the time.
Yeah, because you compare it to all the other kind of Toho stuff. Wow, fantastic. Great choice. Here we go. Does he say anything?
Okay,
I didn't know that.
Oh, if they have.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, good shout. Yeah. There's that much stuff that I've missed. I can't afford to buy all. Right, okay. Where are we? Number 2.
Yes, number 2.
Well, I can tell by the way you use your walk, you're a woman's man with time to talk. So yeah, I've got Saturday Night Fever in my number 2.
Nice.
So I watched it again last week. It's a really good movie. Again, it's so 70s.
Oh,
and it does. It's got the dancing stuff that everybody knows, which is kind of cheesy, but it's kind of cool at the same time. It's got an amazing soundtrack. Soundtrack Saturday Night Fever is just amazing. And it's got, and I'd forgotten just how well integrated it is in the movie, and it's got a real grit to it. It's the 70s. It's incredibly offensive, and real, and the guys are not likable guys in this movie, really, but you kind of get to know them, and you kind of get to like them, even though they're not. I think the movie's trying to do. What the movie's trying to do is try and make you empathise with real people that you maybe normally wouldn't be going to empathise with. I think it does it brilliantly. John Travolta, I think people have forgotten just how good he was in the movie. He's amazing in the movie. And Saturday Night Fever, if you've just thought of it as some kind of cheesy 70s disco movie and you've never seen it, give it a watch. It's actually kind of a hard-edged 70s movie, and it's funny as well. It's got a sense of humour.
But don't watch the trailer, because the trailer is just fucking awful.
I can imagine.
It is. It is like, it literally gives you nothing.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's about a character who kind of grows up. It's by the end of the movie, it's like he grows up. So that's my number 2, Saturday Night Fever. Really good film, and who doesn't love a bit of disco?
Right. Well, for my number 2, I mentioned my 4 of my favorite directors earlier, and this is a movie from another one of them. It was one that I've been meaning to see for years. I had the opportunity. It had one of the best openings to a movie that I've ever seen, because I was so taken aback by, whoa, fucking hell, they filmed it that way. I did not expect that. Yeah, it's called Murder to the Tune of 7 Black Notes from Lucio Fulci. Originally, this was going to be lower on my list, but it just, look at that.
You mean the psychic Murder to the Tune?
yes. The worst alternate title for this movie, The Psychic. Yeah, wow. That opening scene, that took me back. I have never seen a scene of suicide in a movie that has been filmed like that. You kind of, when you see something that shocks you, but for some reason you laugh instead of going, what? I had exactly that.
Yeah, you laugh because after the initial shock, you see flesh hitting rock. The next shot is so obviously a dummy that he puts in. Yes. This shot, and you're like, what? And then it goes back to another visceral shot.
The build up to it, you're like, oh, it's going to be a bad dummy shot. And I'm a sucker for a bad dummy shot. I love a bad dummy shot. And then that first bit, the first time you see her face like hitting the rocks on the way down, you just, whoa, like it really wakes you up. And it could have been a lot cornier than what it was, but I just felt that it was done so well, and I was gripped all the way through, right to the end. And the moment it stopped, I even went back and started to watch it again. I got about halfway through and then went, no, I've got to go to bed now. But yeah,
it's a good movie.
It is a really good movie, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you do.
It's obvious. You kind of know. It's like it doesn't.
It is a very.
It doesn't pull anything over on you, but it's so well done.
It knows exactly what it is. It doesn't try to be more highbrow than it should be. It knows that it's meant to be a cheesy, corny giallo schlock fest, and it just embraces that. And I think that's one of the most appealing parts about it.
It does. It's a schlock fest, but if you're a Poe fan, Edgar Allan Poe, you'll really enjoy it. You'll get a lot out of it.
Yes,
and also it's got I forgot the name of the actor, but Tracy Bowen's dad for one of Majesty's Secret Service is in it as well. So it's got an interesting cast going on there. Yeah, and also what's his name again? Gianni, the guy that played Sartana, Gianni somebody, can't remember. I'm getting old, can't remember the names, but yeah, good call. I didn't expect it to be up there. What is that? Your number 2?
No, I didn't, but it made its way there.
That would be like an honorable mention for me. Yeah, definitely. Excellent. Just before we dive to Stato, I'm going to check the chat here. I'm thinking.
Well, before we do our number ones, should we talk about our honorable mentions?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm just thinking when we get to do 1978, we'll make sure to mention the stud P. We'll get that in there.
Oh yeah.
And the psychic was on Izzy's list.
Excellent.
With a nice love heart. Cool. And Cap's just.
Hey, Cap.
Dived in to tell us he's busy. That's good to see. I'm glad you're busy, man. Good to see you, mate. Right. So honorable mentions then. The Gauntlet was another one that was in my. That was in my top 10 subjective ones, and I watched it again. I really enjoyed it, but I'm like,
I will be right back.
It's not going to be in my top 10. Oh, that's cool. I like that.
That's a nice touch, Stato. Nice touch.
So, so the Gauntlet would have been in there. Sinbad and the Tiger would have been in there. Rolling Thunder would have been in there. It's one of the best sort of like revenge flicks, Vietnam type, post-Vietnam type flicks.
Yeah.
Valentino would have been in there, not because it's Ken Russell, one of Ken Russell's best, but simply because it's Ken Russell. It would have been in there. Audrey Rose would have been in there because it's such a strange movie.
Yeah.
Big budget, strange movie. The last end of it's not as good as the first hour or so of the movie, but it kind of would have been in there. The Deep, again, is another one. and so again, The Man Who Loved Women, I had that there. That was almost my top 10. And also Demon Seed. I was kind of like, I was wondering about Demon Seed. I didn't have time to watch it again, and I know it's a film that I really enjoy, but I wasn't sure whether it stood up to being in a top 10. But I need to revisit it again. I just didn't have time to watch it again.
Yeah, that's definitely one that I need to revisit.
And of course, it's been mentioned already, Empire of the Ants.
Yes. Yeah,
Joan Crawford's finest ever after The Stud, of course.
That is such a fun movie. For me, I've got 4 movies on my honorable mentions. One of them's already been on Stato's list, and that was High Anxiety. Yep, had a good time with it. It wasn't as laugh out loud as I would have liked it to have been. It felt like a blueprint for what Mel Brooks did following it and stuff, but it was a really good attempt, and I really appreciated it. And I think one thing that holds it back is as we go along, as we carry on into the future, there are less and less people who appreciate Alfred Hitchcock movies and have seen that many. So, you know, it doesn't stand up to the test of time, if you ask me. Yep. Another movie that I feel similar about is Rabid. You know, originally that was going to be on my number 2 spot on my list, and then I rewatched it and I was like, oh, such a shame, because I love what Cronenberg does. I love all of his movies, but I hadn't seen it for a long time, and I rewatched it and went, you know what, still a good movie. It's not better than Star Wars. It's not one of Cronenberg's best, and we had a discussion about this. It feels like a blueprint for what Cronenberg would grow into. I mean, you go from Rabid to The Brood. It is night and day, and The Brood is fucking incredible. Rolling Thunder was on there as well, because I thought it was a really good revenge movie that ended way too soon. It didn't utilize Tommy Lee Jones enough. It's one of those where you look at the concept and go, oh my God, this can be amazing. But I didn't feel that they fully executed it well. I felt like there was so much more room for it to be explored, but instead they left a bit of the fluff and filler in. And I found this quite jarring, considering it's written by the same guy that wrote Taxi Driver, and Taxi Driver is just fucking brilliant. And my last honorable mention is Jabberwocky, because that movie is technically brilliant movie. It is so well made. Everything about it is so well made. The casting, I think, is absolutely incredible. But the fact of the matter is, it was way too long, and the humor just didn't work for me. It fell flat most of the time. And I thought that was an absolute shame, because if it had been shorter and the humor had been more on point, I mean, bear in mind, this was Terry Gillingham's second job as a director, his first one being Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which is a classic. I still watch that now, and it still makes me chuckle like there's no tomorrow. And if it had been more like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, it would have made number 1 on my list. But because
I totally agree with that. I think Terry Jones co-directed that, though, so that's the difference.
That might explain something.
I've always thought Jabberwocky is just not funny. It's just impressive, but it's not that funny.
It's incredibly impressive. I mean, when you finally see the Jabberwocky, it's like, wow, that is stunning. The effects they do leading up to every time the Jabberwocky attacks someone is so well done. And like I said, the cast, if you love like your old 60s, 70s, especially sitcoms from the UK, you will see so many faces. I like the moment I saw Sergeant Wilson from Dad's Army, I was like, no way, and there's Alf Garnett, and there's fucking Steptoe. So many great faces to see, and it was brilliant to see them all in one movie, but it didn't cut the mustard. It was so close. It could have been number 1, and it just wasn't.
You've got a fight on your hand, though, because Pete says you're wrong about Rabid. and Izzy's got...
I'm not going to fight Pete. I like Pete.
Yeah, and Izzy's got like the Sentinel again. I haven't seen that in a long time, and I would have quite liked to throw a a Michael Winner film in there, just like the cat amongst the pigeons. King of the Spiders, again, I haven't seen in such a long time. I had to make a decision. Was it going to watch Kingdom of the Spiders?
Empire of Ants?
Empire of the Ants, and I went Empire of the Ants because, and Island of Dr. Moreau.
Why hasn't that gotten a remake? I think nowadays they might be able to break the curse.
Yeah, after the Richard Stanley one with Marlon Brando, I don't think they're going to touch it.
No.
Love Nor Money, because that was production hell.
Yeah. So your honorable mentions, Stato?
Oh, I got two. Well, I mean, there were a few. You guys mentioned some of them, like Winnie the Pooh, and some ones that I kind of figured you might have on a list or something like that. But surprisingly, this one has not been touched. Tentacles. I feel like this is one of those ones that could really get a remake that would be really interesting. Look at the poster, for goodness sake. I want that movie there.
No, you want that movie versus Orca.
Hey, Amanda, yes.
John Huston, Shelley Winters, and Bo Hopkins, is that in Tentacles? Yeah. And I've never seen Tentacles, and now I know I must see Tentacles because I had no idea.
It's like a creature, like a Jaws ripoff kind of thing, but...
Shelley Winters must swim in that. She's got to swim in it. She always, whenever there's water there, Shelley Winters swimming.
The Deep was the other one. I think this one, if it had a remake where maybe they changed the setting, or I'd like to see them lean a little harder into the crime aspect of it. Looking at this, it almost looks like Deep Star 6, or like one of those kind of horror movies, like the kind that looks like it's space but it's actually set underwater. I mean, the 80s were full of those movies, and they were great. I love those type of movies. I wish they'd see a little bit more of that. Closest thing I think we got was the Meg recently here, but it would be even interesting to see them have that, like an underground or underwater installation or something, and have crime story taking place in there. Like some dude just goes nuts from like being underwater too dang long and starts like a crazy crime situation. Yeah. But as it is, this movie, it's one of those ones. It's another, they tried to get another story from Peter Benchley to make another Jaws hit. Didn't turn out that way.
No.
The whole terror thing.
I quite like it.
It's not a bad movie, but I mean, I think that there are things that it just kind of ages poorly. I think the way it was made.
I think it's not one of those ones that as a kid, it just kind of sticks.
There's a good movie in there, but I think that it's needs a little polish. It's Amanda.
Hey, Amanda. Yeah, just in time to find out what our number ones are.
Oh, yeah.
And also, here's a frightening thought. If you went to see Tentacles with his mum and dad.
He's 100% right on that.
Yeah. Brilliant. Right. So, that's a good call, though, that Tentacles. I need to watch, I've never seen it. Number ones. So,
come on, Stato.
All right. Just talking about the Fast and the Furious of its day.
Yes. yes. No.
This movie was not for the South. This was not so much a movie as a documentary. Iconic song. Because it's in your head, it's going to stay in there.
Yeah.
From
Jerry Reed could
from was Jerry Reed
could tracks every now and then, didn't he?
It's a lot like the movie Black Dog with what's his face, Swayze. But this movie was very much like Fast and the Furious in that it was the second highest grossing movie of 1977 on a budget of $5 million. It pulled in over $126 million, losing only to Star Wars, which did like 230 or something like that. And then it spawned a whole crap load of, if you like car movies from the early 80s and stuff, probably something like Used Cars or whatever like that. Or did Used Cars come out before this? Because after this, there was just a ton of car movies, Pretenders, and like crappy sequels as well. Mm-hmm. But it's really offensive nowadays. I don't know if it could be made again.
Well, I thought that. I watched it recently. I thought that, and then I watched Semi Tough and realized Smoking the Bandit's not that offensive.
No, it's not. But I mean, but it's one of those ones that it was a sleeper hit, and I feel like when Fast and Furious came out, it was almost like history repeating itself in terms of how it happened. Real low budget movie, got really, really big, spawned a crap load, like a wave of like movies that were just like it. Yeah, I'll take Bert and Jerry. That's right.
I watched that recently, and a lot of it doesn't actually live up. I don't think the car stunts as much fun as I remember them being either. It's like
you wouldn't have Cannonball Run without this movie.
No, that's true. What it has going for it is Burt Reynolds and Sally Field's chemistry, and just they're just fun to watch, you know. And
absolutely.
So, but I've got to say it's not better than Star Wars for me.
I'm saying it's memorable as Star Wars, not better.
But we're guessing that your picks we're not going for better than Star Wars anyway. No. It is better than Orca, that's for sure.
What?
But,
oh shit! Shots fired! Shots fired!
Maybe we could get Orca with some of that banjo music in it. It would like great banjo music.
The Mr. Trick was spoken in Bandit 2. Instead of an elephant, they should have had a killer whale on it. Then you could have.
That would have been great. Maybe the killer whale could have been chasing him, riding around in the cop car, like, "Come on, get that son bitch."
Is it Mike Henry, isn't it, that plays Smokey's son in it? They could have replaced him with the Orca.
Yeah.
That would have worked. That's a DreamWorks version.
Oh,
right. I was just going to say good choice. It's not a good choice at all.
It was a great choice.
It's a great choice.
Yeah.
Right, I can't even talk about it, Nick. It's my number one.
What did I have to choose from? It was 1977.
It's one of the greatest years of all time. Well, at least I know it. My number one is Annie Hall. Yeah.
Nice.
So, I watched it again recently and I was scared. I was like, maybe this isn't going to be as much fun. Maybe it's going to end up being pretentious. Maybe it's just as good. Just as good as I remember it being.
Yeah.
It's fun, interesting. And then I did some reading up about it as well after I watched it. I say reading up, I read about the movie in Danny Peary's, one of Danny Peary's cult movies books. If you don't have any of his cult movies books, he wrote cult movies 1, 2, and 3, I think it was. And they're really good. And he was writing about it. And what I didn't know was, what I'd forgotten was, it was originally like a 3-year-long cut Annie Hall. It was meant to be a surrealist comedy.
Oh, right.
And they ended up honing in on the relationship, because there's lots of surreal stuff that happens in the movie. There's lots of elements of kind of like surrealist postmodern type stuff. Postmodernism, fine in art, keep it in art, keep it away from the real world. But they just started taking out all these kind of like funny kind of surrealist sequences and just honed it down to concentrating on the character of Annie Hall and her relationship. It's a great wee movie. It's eminently quotable, and there's loads of things that you recognise in real life. And so they got the Oscar, and they don't always get it right, but they got it right in 77.
Yeah,
for me anyway. Annie Hall's the best movie. Closely followed by Saturday Night Fever and The Spy Who Loved Me. With Smokey and the Bandits seemingly is on their heels.
It made more money than all of them. You guys are just bitter.
Yeah, but that's like 2 Burt Reynolds movies in that in that year as well. And he might even had another one because he fairly churned them out then.
Dude, it was working. I mean, it was no Sharky's Machine, but he was working.
Yeah, I love Sharky's Machine. Yeah, but yeah, that's my number one, Annie Hall.
Fantastic. My number one is one that's already been mentioned, and just fucking brilliant. Suspiria. Has to be Suspiria. I've always said that Tenebrae is one of my favorite Argento movies, but it doesn't exist without Suspiria. Even if it still didn't exist after Suspiria would definitely take the number one slot for me. What I cannot say anything bad about the movie. It totally engrosses you from the beginning. The lighting work is amazing, typical Argento kind of lighting work. You know it very quickly. The sets are brilliant. The story is great. Just Yeah, everything about it. Absolutely love it. And it's one of those movies that if I hear someone say, "Oh, I haven't seen it," I'm like, okay, sit down and shut the fuck up because we're watching it right now. Kind of thing. I could be, like some movies, they could be a great movie, but if you're not in the right mood for it, it kind of taints it a little bit, and you're like, oh no, I shouldn't be watching it. This is a movie where like I could be in the worst mood ever, and I'll stick it on, and all of a sudden I'll be on top of the fucking world because it's just such a good movie.
Especially if you replace the lead actress with an orca.
An orca in a ballet school, now that's a movie.
That's right.
Yeah.
But Stato, if you do that, then all the car chases are taken out. They just wouldn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we can do a lot with CGI these days.
What, like putting Burt Reynolds in it?
Yeah. Well, he could put Burt Reynolds in Orca in his role.
Jerry Reed's doing the soundtrack. You're
swimming around.
As they're practicing the ballet in the background, you can just see John Travolta doing his thing.
Yeah.
Good choice. That's a good choice.
The movie's up.
Pete, I think we can definitely conclude that 1977 was a heck of a year to be in a cinema. It was indeed.
You can conclude that.
It was indeed. Well, it wasn't actually. It was a heck of a year for cinema, but as I'm sure you can attest as well, Pete, it's like to actually be in a cinema in 1977. Everybody on one side of the cinema was chain smoking. So
just 1 year off from a real year.
All the movies that you watched back in the 70s had a kind of
1978
smoke screen in front of them.
1978 is going to eat 77's lunch. I'm sorry.
Special mention for the people at the time. That's a good mention. That it's the lesser of the Amicus Doug McClure movies, but still, it needed more Doug. It needed more dinosaurs, but yeah, it's definitely a special mention with that. So cool. That's it. We had quite a few crossovers.
Yeah.
Even with Stato's choices.
I did not. I think I had like two. I was trying my hardest to be like, what are they going to choose? I'm going the other way.
No, you had The Spy Who Loved Me. You had.
Well, yeah, that was a gimme.
Slapshot.
And
I'm sure there's another one in there.
No, I don't think so.
With my honorable mention of High Anxiety.
Oh, yeah, well, High Anxiety was an honorable mention. So was Winnie the Pooh. Those were both ones that. But I mean, like my official list, there's like two. Very surprised Orca wasn't on your guys.
Yeah. No.
I had a chance to watch it, so
you didn't need to watch it. Put it on.
I'll put it in at 10.5, shall I?
Mistake, it's Orca.
Yeah, I was like that too, Pete. You could get some weird shapes going on in the cinema. It was very effective. Okay, so I've got, before we close up, because that is our top 10, but we're going to have a look at the Internet Movie Database just to see what other things were out then, because I've got a list of feature films from oh, look at that, Neighbours. I've got new Neighbours there. There you go. Sorted by popularity. This is going by the Internet Movie Database, so take that with a pinch of salt. But we have mentioned Star Wars. That was a movie that came out then. People liked. Exorcist II: The Heretic. Wow, that's popular with people in the Internet Movie Database.
Must have found its audience.
Yeah. Close Encounters, A Bridge Too Far, Suspiria. These are all your movies come up here. Saturday Night Fever, Smokey and the Bandit, Eraserhead made it there. Sorcerer, that's a surprise. That Sorcerer's in there. Annie Hall, Slapshot, House, Hills Have Eyes, Wizards.
That's like my whole list up there.
That was the other Ralph Bakshi one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Kentucky Fried ranks
I quite like the rest because I got to admit that. Here's one that I can't remember, and I need to get a copy of, and that's the Domino Killings. And I remember that used to be one that was on TV quite a bit as well. It was one of these thrillers that seemed kind of boring when you were a kid.
Pete's Dragon almost made my list from a technical aspect. Wasn't my favorite movie, but it was a well done movie.
Yeah, with the Sentinels there, there's Rapids there, the Duelists. Again, that's more interesting than Eden because you see Ridley Scott kind of doing stuff. Not quite sure what the other Cinderella is, but it's interesting. So we'll give it a watch at some point, I think. New York, movies that nobody's heard of. Capricorn 1 there. Okay, Goodbye Girl. Okay, I kind of want to watch that again. The Demon Seed, like I said. Mr. Goodbar, or Looking for Mr. Goodbar, the other Diane Keaton movie in the 70s. Swedish Nympho Slaves. I thought that might have been in your list, Lucifer.
Almost. Almost.
but then I noticed it was a Jess Franco movie, and I thought, oh no.
Yeah, I didn't watch it because it's a Jess Franco movie, and not because there's anything wrong with Jess Franco movies. It's just we are going to do that special episode all about Jess Franco movies one day, so I'm saving it for then.
And a Ruggero Deodato movie is there as well, Cannibal. So, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Brilliant.
Three Women in the Car, Orca. You got all these kind of softcore David Hamilton type movies then as well. It was like that Bilitis. Chatterbox looks interesting. Don't know what that is. Death Game.
Yeah, that was one that I wanted to watch.
Yeah, it's not. It's nowhere near as good as Death Race. It's good Object of Desire. I highly recommend it. Let's have a look at the next one, debut, because there's a few here that came out that are kind of interesting. Well, there's a Gestapo's Last Orgy. Is that the one that's on our...
Almost went for that, but considering we do the Video Nasties...
That's on our Video Nasties list, yeah, so we'll need that. There will be. Black Sunday's an interesting one. I couldn't get that watched. I couldn't find a decent copy to watch. That's a good thriller as far as I remember. The John Frankenheimer one with Robert Shaw. The terrorists at the Super Bowl. Julia as well. I haven't seen that in many years. That's a good film. Oh yeah, but with all the kind of Emmanuel movies, the official ones and other rip-offs in 1977. Semi-Tough is better than its poster makes it out to be. Tentacles isn't, I think we found out. A lot of Video Nasties were released in 1977.
Yeah, because you also had Axe, also known as the California Axe Massacre.
Yeah.
Was in 1977. I think Fight for Your Life was 1977.
Yeah. The Last Wave, that Peter Weir's kind of arty, weird movie. I remember that being quite good. I did think for a minute, Startle, you might have had, oh God.
I thought about it. It's a wholesome movie, but it wasn't. I do like George Burns a lot, but I did not put that one on the list.
And it's the Bad News Bears sequel. It's one of the sequels here, but not the Bad News Bears. And Elsa the Wicked Warden. I think there was a couple of Elsa movies came out in 77.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah. An Incredible Melting Man.
Alucarda, that's one that I watched for our folk horror one that, wow, that is something else.
Yeah. Speaking of which, as Stella's mentioning here, looking forward to our next folk horror roundup because we're going to be doing one with Stella that's going to be
I look forward to that too.
Totally different to our last one. We've got a whole lot of recommendations from Stella that we're looking at. And in about a month or so, we'll be putting that together. White Buffalo. I remember that being quite good fun. Charles Bronson. You watch that again. Murders to the tune of 7 Black Notes.
Rock on.
We've talked about a lot of these. I have never seen Dogs. Starring David McCallum. No. Directed by the one and only Burt Brickenhoff.
Brickenhoff.
Yeah. Kingdom of the Spiders. John Bod Cardos. Yeah. Paul Verhoeven's Soldier of Orange. I saw too late that was a 77 movie. Otherwise, I'd try to get that watched because I haven't seen that for a long time. And of course, Herzog. So many big directors had things out there, including George Harrison Marx, if Come Play With Me. And Audrey Rose, which again I've got a bit of a soft spot for as a movie. It's an odd one. And Charles Bronson and Don Siegel's Telephone. 2 greats, but no great movie. It's got to be said. There you go. Francois Truffaut's Man Love Woman. It's a good movie. I would say a great movie. Roller Coaster. Saw that in the cinema. It had Sense Around. Don't know if anybody saw it with Sense Around. It was just very loud, made everything shake. It's like 3D for the ears and your backside. Candle Shoe. I saw that in the cinema. Hey, I was 11. What can you do? Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. I saw that in the cinema. It should have been in my mentions because I remember enjoying it quite a lot.
One that's almost in my honorables. Yeah.
Yep, World's Greatest Lover. So we'll just do one more. Have a look and see if there's anything that props up that's of any interest. Empire of the Ants is there. We will, I think, maybe do a show in the future about Empire of the Ants. It's an amazing movie. Quiet Boys. Oh, why did I not know The Quiet Boys was 77? Right. Oh, interesting. The Quiet Boys, these are kind of like movies based on novels that are not as good as the novels, but very interesting. So we should probably have a look at the Blue Knight's another one. That's a show for the future, I think. So, yeah, a lot of trash as well.
Oh, yes.
There you go. Also, The Tigress of Siberia.
There we are.
There's two also. And there's The People that Time Forgot. The lesser of the Amicus dinosaur movies. Emmanuel and the Last Cannibal. A lot of games. I always get that one confused with Emmanuel in America.
Emmanuel and the Last Cannabis.
The Last Cannabis. Is that what I said? Yeah.
Any mention of The Disappearance with Donald Sutherland?
Oh, no. Islands in the Stream with George C. Scott and David Hemmings. Never seen that. The Sweeney, the cinematic version of The Sweeney came out in 77.
Yeah, I was going to watch that, just didn't get the time for it.
It's Radical mentions about our next folk horror show. It's going to be peppered with some feminist chat, so be prepared.
Yes.
So yeah, we're going to film.
It's going to be a good show.
It's going to be a
damn good show.
Last remake of BoJest, that was blooming awful. just it was. Piece of the action. Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby. Yeah, I remember liking that when I was a kid. But what could, come on. Yeah. Sister Emmanuel with Laura Gamesick. Laura Gamesick got a lot of movies out in 1977, I have to say. I don't know what Nasty Diver is, but Breaker, Chuck Norris movie. You kind of forget he had stuff coming out that early in the 70s. Serpent's Egg, that's the Bergman movie I mentioned. If you've never seen a Bergman movie, don't watch it because you don't want it to be your first because you probably never watch another one.
I think most people would watch Seventh Seal first.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought.
Yeah, but don't make that your... Well, that's his only English language one, this one, so sometimes people are like, oh, it doesn't have subtitles, I give that a watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a very varied year. I think it was a great year. Pete's already mentioned Shockwaves, Choir Boys, and hey, Mr. Mitchell, good evening, Grand Theft Auto, Ron Howard one. Yep. Ron Howard's greatest movie.
There was also The Car, The Child, was another one that was from 1977. Oh God, there was loads. Oh, of course, the cinematic version of Are You Being Served? Unfortunately, I watched that for this.
Didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I was really looking forward to it till I watched it.
It's one of those things. It's like they just don't transfer to cinema, do they? Not at all. Well,
they don't. Day of the Animals was another one that I wanted to watch for this, but I didn't get the chance to, unfortunately.
There's loads. I could keep going because there's actually 3,147 titles, but we won't because we won't.
No. It's better that we don't.
That was enough, but we kept it kind of classy tonight. We had lots of good.
I know what's wrong with us.
I know, because I was trying to be objective and pick ones that were actually genuinely good movies.
Well, next time can we not be objective then? Because I don't think I like this classy stuff.
Which I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed watching Saturday Night Fever, and Mr. Mitchell will appreciate this as well. Saturday Night Fever, he's got this really nice Rocky poster, too. So it's a movie that kind of plays on what was in the pop culture at that time as well. So it was good revisiting it, and like Pete says, if you had a time machine, he was going to go back. That's a good year to go back to. That's just me being an old guy kind of reminiscing back
now. The question is, we've done this for 1977 with Star Wars. I don't know about you guys. I've had a great time. Are we willing? And I think this one would actually be more of a challenge. And this was a challenge enough. But are we willing to try and do the same with 1980 versus Empire Strikes Back? I mean, 1983 is piss easy out of the three Star Wars movies.
Right, okay. Now you say that, and I can't think of 1980 movies that. Okay.
Yeah, are we prepared to do that challenge, or are we leaving this as a one-off?
Ones in 80.
Because there are some amazing movies from 1980.
Hey, they got Smokey and the Bandit too.
I should have seen that fucking coming.
Right. Okay. So I mean,
is this a one-off or is this a trilogy?
The thing is, we're not. It's like you say. It's like, yeah. Okay.
It's difficult,
but it's difficult because I can't. 77 is a year that's it's in my DNA. And I love Star Wars. I mean, we did this. It's a wee bit tongue in cheek, but it's not really because I picked 10 movies that I do think are better than Star Wars. And I could have picked 20, but that doesn't mean Star Wars isn't great.
Yeah, the point is we're not hating on Star Wars. Like I said, I've got a Star Wars tattoo and stuff. I love Star Wars, the original 3 anyway. Beyond that, let's not go there. And we know that Stato is appreciative of Orca and Smokey and the Bandit, which he has declared.
Right.
Stato's already said himself in his own words that it's much better than Star Wars.
You guys are all sitting here like, oh no, let's change this thing to 10 movies that are better than Orca.
Mr. Mitchell has still got the poster I mentioned, so that's good to know. Okay, that's a good point he makes as well. It's like the splits tend to happen not in decades, they tend to happen inside a decade. So we're still got that kind of transitional from the 70s. So
I always see it as hangovers. The beginning of the 80s had a 70s hangover. The beginning of the 90s had an 80s hangover. Something went horribly wrong in the 2000s. Someone bought absinthe to that party. But that's normally how Well, yeah, exactly.
Right, okay. Exactly.
Or do we risk it? Do we risk it and let the chat vote on whether we should do 1980?
Do we do 90? Because I was wanting to do another year, but I didn't know if I was thinking, did we keep it Star Wars related? Do we see if I can actually get viewers?
Directions we can go.
by having Star Wars in the title every time.
We can either eventually cover every year from the decade of the 70s, one by one and in random order, or we can follow the Star Wars trend.
Okay, let's do it then. So 10 movies that are better than The Empire Strikes Back.
Fuck, I just shot myself in the foot suggesting.
I'm up for that.
Like I said, it would be more of a challenge than this one. This was a challenge. Let's not beat around the bush.
There's a lot of movies that came out.
This was a challenge, but 1980 compared, because Empire Strikes Back, what a fucking movie.
So Smokey and the Bandit is everybody's number one, or what?
Okay, we are talking about the year of
Staying Alive. Oh, the sequel
really?
to
That was 1980
was from there.
We're talking of the year of Hawk the Slayer. So yeah, let's do it.
Sold.
So many good movies. 19. That's a good call. I'm sorry I even doubted you, Mr. Storm.
We'd have to leave it till like next year to do that episode, like early in the new year.
Guys, it's got Maniac. We can get another Caroline Munro in there.
Oh, yes.
Fantastic. Oh, it's got
Saturday
Private Benjamin. Okay. Okay. Yep, give it a little while. But I'm all for you, chaps, doing 1980. Yeah, we need a bit of a little while because we need to watch these movies, some of these movies again.
Yeah, exactly.
Empire is perfection. It's near enough. It is near enough. But it's no Hawk the Slayer. It's no humanoids from the deep either. Okay. Stir Crazy was 1980. Oh, come on.
Great movie.
Oh, another good call. Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. Fantastic. Dogs of War. God, it's going to be so hard picking just 10 or better. Right. Okay. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming along tonight and doing this. It's been a lot of fun. I also watched a lot of fantastic old movies over the last couple of months because we spent a long time between shows. So we'll probably do the same thing. So join us next March when we do top 10 movies are better than The Empire Strikes Back. But yeah, well, I'm going to be back here with Lucifer and with Nick on I think it's the 26th of October, and we're doing a Halloween special.
Yeah.
And just to let you know, I've finished Tales of the Dark. It's done. It's 108 pages long. So that'll be. But the time we do the next show, that will be off to print. I really probably should update the backers and let them know that as well. But to be honest, I'm just bloody knackered. So that's that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a Halloween special with Nick from London Gothic. And hey there, Aldous on the farm. Good to see you. Aldous. Good afternoon. And then we're going to come back at some point in November, I imagine, with Radical Cartoons, Stella, and we're going to do another folk horror story. And this is going to be a very feminist-based folk horror with a lot of picks from Stella.
Awesome. I look forward to that. It's always a pleasure to do a show with Stella.
It's pushing us into watching some things that are going to be completely new to us as well. So that's cool. We've been swapping things. I've got some stuff to watch for that.
And don't we have another show planned for November? Revolving around missing episodes.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I forgot about that. I didn't forget all about it. I just forgot it was in November.
You forgot? Yeah. Oh, man, that's it. Our marriage is over.
We're going to be doing we're going to be doing a show based on missing episodes that have been animated for Doctor Who, and we're going to be. It's the Patrick Troughton episodes. We're going to be looking at the Patrick Troughton stuff. That's really what we're going to be looking at.
There was only a couple of Hartnell ones that were really touched.
Yeah, but we'll mention them anyway. You know we will. But we're definitely going to be looking at the Patrick Troughton ones, and this is basically spinning off from the fact that we both chose Patrick Troughton as our number one Doctor, without realising we were both going to do that when we were doing the ranking of the Doctors. So we'll be doing that in November too. Yeah, so that'll be like 2 shows that we're doing, and then we'll think of something for December. We'll do a Christmas special or something. And Stato and I are going to squeeze in one of our hugely popular EC Tales shows at some point. Yeah.
The people aren't ready for that one.
No, I know. Hold on to your hats. Yeah, we're going to be watching some old episodes of Tales from the Crypt, reading the stories, and doing another show where we compare them. And please join us for that. The internet goes crazy whenever we do one of those shows.
I feel like they faint and forget to click on watching.
Yeah, in case you've never guessed, if you're watching this and you're new to the channel, we just do. We kind of makes us happy. Right. That's what you should all do. You should all do that. You know, absolutely. Unless you're a serial killer, please stop now.
Yes.
Here we go. Hang on a second. If anyone's in London, 20th of October, I'm in the Battle of Ideas. Excellent. Look up the program. Cool. Gagged cartoonist. Excellent. I will be. That's no doubt going to be online. I will be watching that. I always watch the Battle of Ideas. And you'll find out all about Stella, who was indeed cancelled, and find the interview with Stella that I do on this channel too. Go to your own channel and subscribe to that. Okay, thanks for that, Stella. That's great. I definitely look forward to that. Right, so I'll go here on this channel tonight. Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so cheers to everybody in the chat for coming and joining us. Thanks, Stato. Thanks, Lucifer. And I need to remember how to get us all out of here now. Oh, I remember now. I remember now. I deleted the thing that I play at the end, so I don't have it anymore. So we just have to pretend it's the end of a 70s American TV show, and all your feet
just be like,
pretty much. So so that's it, guys. Good night.